And we continue. And on this date, September 11th, 2001, about 15 minutes from now on the clock, a plane crashed into one of the towers of the World Trade Center in New York, and it looked to everybody like a horrendous accident. About a half an hour from now, on September 11th, 2001, a second plane hit the other tower, and we knew America was under attack. That morning, at the microphone, right here on the 50,000-watt front porch, was the man who's on the line with me right now, Shannon Burke. Welcome aboard, and thanks for doing this for us this morning.
A real pleasure, Bud.
What do you remember?
I remember that day like it was yesterday. I did my show like any other day. Towards the end of the program, like you just said, we got the news that a plane had hit one of the towers. My producer Colin Brady ran in from the newsroom, said a plane hit one of the World Trade Center towers, and like you said, we thought it was an accident, a horrible accident. We ended the show, and Dr. Laura came on. She used to be on that station, and I sauntered into the newsroom, and we stood in front of the televisions there, and we realized that once the second plane had hit, that indeed we were under attack, and we went back into the studio, took Dr. Laura off the air, and we went wall to wall for the next, I think I was on the air that day for 12 hours. I think I left there at 6 p.m.
My goodness. As the drama unfolded, I mean, you had the second hit, and everybody understood that we were talking about a story that demanded wall-to-wall coverage. And then in the next hour or two, we had all of the other events. You know, one tower coming down, the other tower coming down, the Pentagon, the situation with the plane in Pennsylvania, et cetera, et cetera. What are your recollections there, Shannon, as the day unfolded, and you were covering it, and you were getting calls? I'm sure every light you had on the board was lit up with folks who wanted to talk. So take us back to that 10 years ago.
But it's an odd position to be in like that when these surreal events unfold around you. And basically I was there, as a sounding board for people to vent and to discuss and to share information and feelings. And, when your nation is under attack, the emotions are unbelievable, and my emotions were unbelievable. I was in tears many times throughout that broadcast, and it was difficult to keep it all together. But to be there, to listen to people, to listen to them vent, to share information as we got it, it was just like I said, a surreal experience. And as the day unfolded, it was just an exhausting day, I think, for all Americans. But it was an exhausting day to sit there. Absorb the information, share it as we got it. A lot of people in their cars, a lot of people not knowing exactly what's happening, sharing the information as it unfolded, and experiencing the same feelings that they were experiencing.
How tough was it as a broadcaster, Shannon? We have a television monitor in our studio. I'm sure you had one back then. So you were able to actually look up there, and all of a sudden you are seeing one of the towers just crumble down to the ground, and the whole scene in New York City. And you got a full bank of phones. You're handling this play-by-play, and all of a sudden something that at that point nobody expected to happen. Those buildings come down. How in the world did you keep it together and keep control of the show? I would imagine it would have been very difficult.
People have often given me a hard time for my broadcast style and the fact that I utilize the pregnant pause, like Glenn Beck does, and oftentimes as a broadcaster you use the pause to emphasize a point or an emotion or a feeling or something. But in that case, that day, as I watched the first tower fall on that little monitor there in the studio, my pause was one of I was aghast. I was
literally speechless. Literally speechless.
Completely and utterly speechless. And I remember, I have those tapes, and not so long ago I listened to them again, and I remember the feeling there that I saw it happening, and I knew a lot of people weren't watching this, although many people were watching it on television, but people that were listening to me on the radio were going about their workday and couldn't see it. And I thought to myself, my God, how am I going to tell people? How can I tell them? I've got to deliver this news that this gigantic building has just collapsed, killing thousands of people. And at that point, it obviously was incredibly deadly. 3,000 Americans died that day, but we didn't know. There were numbers tossed around, 30,000, 20,000.
Oh, yeah.
How many people were in that building? And to watch it collapse right there and be the man that had to share that news, it was awful. It was terrible, and I was speechless. And I remember kind of how I expressed it was I don't know how to share this with you. I don't know that I wasn't even sure that I had seen or believed what I had seen, but one of the towers indeed has fallen. It has collapsed. It is no longer a part of the New York skyline.
That's very interesting. The way you did that is very similar to the way I got the news from Don Imus. I happened to be out of town and up in the New York area at that particular point, and I learned about this first from Imus. I happened to flip him on, and he said, I don't know how to explain it to you, about the Trade Center tower. It's just gone. I mean, it's just gone. And you could see a guy who's been on the radio forever, even longer than you and I have been,
right.
And he was literally rendered virtually speechless by it, and they're very, very parallel. The way you were struck and the way you imparted the information. Then, of course, we have the issue of President George W. Bush, the commander-in-chief, and he is overreading the kids in the Tampa area, and that's coming up on the television as well, and that's a part of the story. What about the president? What about the government? Et cetera, et cetera.
So much has been said about President Bush and how he sat there and continued to read to kids, and it's been the butt of so many jokes, and I think that's truly unfair to the man. He is the commander-in-chief for the first time in decades that this country's been attacked. Certainly the first time the continental United States have ever been attacked like this, and he's just been delivered that news in his ear, so the man has suffered so much at the.
I think none of it has been fair in that regard. Shannon, I could talk to you all morning on this, as your recollections of being at this microphone on 9/11, but I've only got about 30 seconds left. Can you sum up the sense of the audience as callers continued all day long to hop on the line with you?
Shock, and it was a unique opportunity. And this as a broadcaster, when you're in a position to really feel exactly what your audience is feeling, and they know it, and you know it, and you and your audience are one, and you're no longer as a role of the news giver, but you're sharing that experience with them, you're sharing that emotion with them, and it was just a powerful, exhausting day, and it was a pleasure to be there to do it, and to be there with the audience at 540. Just an amazing day.
It truly was, and thank you for helping us recollect it as part of our 10th anniversary observance here at 540 WFLA. Shannon, always a pleasure to talk with you. I wish you well, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. For 8:42 here on BHL, real-time traffic and weather together on the